All right. Hello, everyone. This is Phoenix, the college success professor, and I am going live as I promised with a student. I just found out this was her freshman year. This was her first year experience in college this past semester. So we're going to get into all of that. If you have questions, definitely put those in. And I am here interviewing Ashley Campbell. Let me
Hey.
read her bio. Go ahead, say hello, Ashley.
Hey everyone, my name's Ashley. I'm very excited to be here. Feels so like comforting. I'm so happy.
Yes, and she's all decked out, especially for us. She has the fancy background, so
Yeah.
she's looking lovely, representing Miss Black and Gold. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but let me get into her bio for you today. So, Ashley is a 19-year-old mental health advocate and the founder of the One Step Forward initiative. She's extremely passionate about serving her community through advocacy and her gift of dance. She has been recognized for her service by numerous community and official boards, awards, and the title of the new Iota chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. I have some friends in that fraternity, so I'm sure they're whooping it up for you right now. And Miss Black and Gold 2019. She is now a sophomore in college. Like I just said, just finished her freshman year of college, studying at Rowan University, majoring in psychology and minoring in dance, with the hopes of bringing change to the world through love and compassion. And we need all of that right now in the world. So, welcome, Ashley. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So, one thing that I always like to get started with when I have students in particular on the podcast is to talk about, I just gave your brief bio, but talk about, where you're from and actually how you came to be a freshman at Rowan University with your major. So, could you tell the audience a little bit about who you are, your background, your siblings? You mentioned you had a sister.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am 19 years old, as you stated. I come from Bridgeton, New Jersey, so I joke around and say like I'm from like South Jersey, like right almost next to Delaware. A lot of people haven't really heard of where I'm from, and I've just come to major in psychology because my freshman year of high school, I actually did like a tour at Rowan University, and I actually just went into the ballroom. And honestly, that's the only place I had to go. And I was like, like this is the school that's for me. Like, sometimes you just go in somewhere and you're like, this is for me. That's how I felt as soon as I entered the campus. So I knew that's where I wanted to go. And then just my experience, just like seeing people in their mental health, I just realized I want to help people in that. And that's something that I'm extremely passionate about. So that's how I came to major in psychology. And I don't regret anything about it. I love psychology so much.
And just a follow up question, you said you have, I believe, a younger sister. So are you the first in your family, in your immediate family, to go to college?
Yeah, it's a big accomplishment so far. So I have a little sister. She just turned 16, and I actually have a little dog too. But she's one of my best friends. Her name's Princess. But
Will
yeah,
she be making a guest appearance?
I had to tell her to stay downstairs because as soon as I walked away from her, she was like, "I'm like, no, you can't come on TV right now." But yeah, I'm a first generation college student. A fun fact about me is I'm biracial. My dad's actually Canadian citizen, so I have dual citizenship with that.
Good.
And my mother is a beautiful African American lady, so I am Scottish, Nigerian, and German. I just think that's a fun fact.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've learned to just come to love myself and love others. So I just try to spread love and compassion wherever I go.
So, two follow up questions to that. Um, you're Scottish Nigerian. So, is your mother Nigerian or?
Yes.
Okay. My husband's Nigerian, so we
Oh,
have that connection.
awesome. Awesome.
And at my university, we have a dog friendly dorm. Does Princess come to school with you or does Princess stay at home?
Now, this past year, she stayed at home because I don't like to admit it, but as soon as I went away to school, my mom had to get a dog because I guess she felt like somebody was missing. So that's when she came along. But I believe, yeah. So I believe if I just got like a doctor's note or anything saying that I just needed like a pet by my side, then she'd be
Right.
able to come with me.
Yeah, an emotional support animal. Well,
Yeah.
I think all schools have to comply with emotional support animals, but
Hmm.
we just this past year have like a dog friendly, a pet friendly, or is it dog friendly? I think it's a dog specific friendly dorm. So whether you have a doctor's note or not, you can come and bring it. Well, probably not
Yeah.
now, or maybe it is still now. Who knows what's going to happen this fall? And we'll get into that. But in the past, this past semester, you were able to bring your pet to campus. So
Awesome. I
the
know
world
at
is
my
a
school,
changing.
yeah. I know at my
So
school they just started this like dog initiative, I think, type of thing. They have like pet therapy at my school too. So everyone's very fond of dogs.
yes, yes. I have no pets myself, much to my children and husband's chagrin, but
Hmm.
that's the way it is for now. All right. So my next question is, last semester in college, like we just mentioned, was a bit, not a bit, like completely like off the wall. So could you talk about? I know some students were on break when the pandemic happened. Could you talk about your experience last semester and what happened specifically at your school? When did you find out? Like what happened? Is your stuff still on campus? Like all the deets. Give me all the deets.
Okay. So I think it might have happened for every school, but they let us know that we were going to have a 2 week spring break. And
Mm-hmm.
every, like, I know my friends were like kind of upset about the fact, but I was like, why are you guys upset? We're getting a 2 week spring break. Like, I need that. But the thing is, we went home for that 2 week spring break and just never returned.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, okay, well, we definitely got an extended spring break. And just after that happened, they let us know that we were going to do schooling online. At first, it was kind of like if you wanted to do schooling online, then you could, but then later on, it became mandatory. And then even with that, I was like, I don't know why people are upset. Like we get to stay in our PJs, we can just go to class that way. But as soon as we started online schooling, I completely regretted everything that I said. I was just like, this is actually a lot harder than what I expected, you know? Because I was taking 5 classes this past semester in the spring, and I still had the same amount of work that you would have in the classroom, but just the fact of seeing it all at once, like on that Sunday before the school week started, was overwhelming for me because I didn't have somebody like, conversationally telling me what I had to do. I just had to read it all for myself, just documents here, like just packed on top of each other. So that's what, stressed me out a little bit.
Sorry, I was giving you your spotlight while you were talking.
Oh,
This Streamyard software I'm really new at, so.
yeah. This is the first time I've heard about it, and I think it's going pretty well so far. So I might
Oh
use it.
well, thank you, thank you, thank you. So you mentioned that you had the misperception that a lot of students do that online was going to be easy. Had you ever taken an online class, even just one online class before?
Now that I think about it, I don't think I have. I didn't in college. I know that I have it in college. I've taken summer courses because I did a summer program before I started my freshman year, but no online courses. So,
Right. So I think a lot of students, and I don't know what the reason is. It could be just because you never experienced it before,
mhm.
had the perception that online classes were, going to be okay. Yay, go to class in your pajamas.
Yeah.
So what was difficult for you about transition? You had 5 classes, which I think is part of the challenge that you have to balance all of that.
Hmm.
But what was the most difficult part of you with regard to the fact that there was a pandemic going on, the fact that you didn't know what was going to happen for the rest of the semester. But what was the most difficult part about, physically being asked to do all 5 of the classes that you were registered for online?
So what I think was most difficult for me was just physically adjusting to having to be in work mode and school mode at home. So for me particularly, when I come home, like I just full out just go into rest mode. Like I just want to relax with my family. I want to watch TV. I want to like enjoy my mom's cooking. But I had to literally put myself in my bedroom and tell myself like you're in your dorm room. This isn't home. You can't just chillax and do what you want to do. You have to get your work done. So I feel like what was hardest for me was just keeping up that discipline while being in my comfort zone because I was always comfortable at school, but I was used to, forcing myself, get up, go to class. You have to be present all the time. So, especially like what they told me before we started school is nobody's going to make you get up and do anything. So I learned that, especially even more so being at home, no one's going to make you go to class, but you have to stay on top of yourself to do so. So I feel like what was hardest for me was just being in my
Right.
comfort zone and, just keeping up my hard work.
Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to ask was, you have these 5 classes that you're taking online. Were all of your teachers actually teaching you online? Like, what was the actual? You can go down your schedule if you remember all the classes that you took. Were you actually, meeting through Zoom or whatever platform you used on your classes at the regular scheduled time? Like, did they give you more work? Did they give you less work? Did they adjust the syllabus? Like, what was the actual difference between your face-to-face classes and your online classes?
So I believe every professor that I had, except for one, my contemporary mathematics one, did like face to face teaching. So I know definitely. Oh, actually, now that I think about it, I had 2 professors that didn't do face to face learning. So my one psych professor, she just recorded her lectures with the slides, and then gave us like our quizzes that way, like through Blackboard. I didn't mind that. That was okay because I could at least hear her like explaining the content to us. And then my
Mm-hmm.
mathematics professor, she just didn't like do face to face learning. She wrote out the notes and she posted YouTube videos for us and like had our work through platforms or whatever. But she didn't really do any face to face learning. But my other professors, I had a dance class. We didn't really dance, which was a little upsetting
Right.
because I would like to
Yeah.
keep up, with that training. But it was for World Dance Form, so the class could go either way. So we kind of just studied like cultural dance forms, which I appreciated still. And we did
Mm-hmm.
WebEx meetings. My my social psych professor, he did his lectures every Tuesday and Thursday. And my English professor, yeah, it was for my English class. She still did her weekly meetings as well too. But I feel like she was the most lenient and most like understanding along with my psych professor that we're taking class in the middle of a pandemic, so they weren't going to like be too hard on us but still expect our best.
So you bring that up, and I wonder were the rest of the professors, or even talking to your
Mm-hmm.
friends, regarding leniency and understanding of faculty with the transition online. What would you say about that? Either your experience, or talking to your friends about their experiences with the transition.
Now, interestingly, like I've heard from my friends and like other people I've just talked to around campus that their professors were still like, okay, you might be at home and this may be a pandemic. Like, I feel sorry for you. However, we're still going to act like we're in the classroom. And I was just like, I appreciate that, I do. But then you have to also understand, what if that person went home to a like an environment that's not safe for them or somewhere that they can't effectively learn. I appreciate how my professors really took that into consideration and still pushed us, but still understood where we were coming from in that case. So I liked my at home experience. It was fine.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot as well. I was talking to a student who goes to a different university, and basically they were expected to do the same amount of work.
Mm-hmm.
There were some professors, like I guess it's half and half depending on the professor, and that's how it is regardless whether you're online or not. Sometimes you have understanding, compassionate professors, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
So it's the luck of the draw.
Mm-hmm.
But they were expected to do, the same, 12-page paper that was due at the beginning of the semester, still due at the end of the semester. So that's one thing that, unfortunately, you'll have to deal with. So when you're thinking about, no, one more question before I talk about next
Okay.
semester or the summer.
Okay.
So you said there was no one at home to help you. Well, not help you, but there was no one at home telling you, go to class, make sure hey, they probably didn't know your schedule, and
Yeah.
you're, being an independent young woman, your freshman year. So were there any support systems through the university? Like, I don't know if they still offered, or if you even used like tutoring or mental health services, or any of the services that were offered when you were on campus. Were they available online, or did you even ask or see or need any of those support services?
Yeah, so my school always offered tutoring services virtually, like that never ended. I was actually pretty proud of my school though because they shifted everything which they could like as fast as they could to like online. So their mental health services, they were good online. You could contact the wellness center. Tutoring that was also available. I'm also an EOF student, so my EOF counselor was available whenever I needed him. And because my sister had to do online schooling as well too, so my
Mm-hmm.
mom was really good with like supporting us and understanding like this is a whole shift and I'm not in high school anymore, so the work level is not the same and the workload is not the same.
Right.
So yeah, so having to go online with that, my mom was really supportive about that. Just I'm still an adult, and even if my mom does tell me to get up and go to school, I don't have to, so I had to stay on top of myself, for
Right.
that, for myself. But yeah, my school really stayed on top of everything, and I actually am pretty proud of them for that. They really do care about their students.
All right. Shout out to Rowan. Anybody applying to Rowan? She gives it the thumbs
Hi.
up.
I
So could
really
you,
appreciate it.
for people who don't know what EOF is, could you talk about what specifically that is and what your counselor helps you with?
Yeah, so EOF is the Educational Opportunity Fund, and it's mainly directed for if you come from a lower income home, and it's to help like just minority students who wouldn't necessarily score the highest on their SAT make it into college, matriculate, and be the best that they can be. So I did the EOF program to help out with extra scholarship money and to just give me extra resources on campus and to meet new people before we started school. That's a big thing too, because you may not think that it's as scary starting on campus the first day, but it is. So I took advantage of that opportunity, even though I had to sacrifice some of my summer. But in the
Hmm.
end, like, you made the good connections with the faculty. You were able to make good connections with friends, and you got extra scholarship money. So I think it's worth the sacrifice.
Win, win, win.
Yeah, it was a little tough, but we made it through together.
Yeah, how many weeks did you have to sacrifice for your summer? You took, is that the class you were talking about taking?
Yeah, we took. I took two summer classes during that program, so I was able to get 6 credits before school started. But
Fantastic. Highly recommended. So you're good. You're set. Even if
yeah,
you needed to withdraw from a class, especially like considering this pandemic, I don't think you did, but even if you did it because you had those two classes with 6 credits, you were actually, good to go
all
with
set.
regard to your credits. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's something I have been recommending that people do. Like especially with the course load, because online is so much more difficult.
mm-hmm.
That if you can take like a summer class because you don't know what's going to happen in the fall, like just take like one class or two classes, that way
Mm-hmm.
the credits will offset each other for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about the summer. Did you have any plans for the summer before we were hit with a global pandemic?
I kind of consider myself kind of just like the go with the flow type of person when it's not having to do with like schoolwork or like business, whatever the case may be. So when it comes to friends, I'm just like, if my friend texts me, say, "Hey, you want to hang out?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I can pick me up. Let's go out." Because I'm not far from my friends from home. So honestly, like the one thing I definitely had in mind was take beach trips because I'm a beach fanatic. That's what I love. I like to say I'm a mermaid at heart. And also just work because summer is the best time, to save money for
Mm-hmm.
school and any other expenses that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And, just spend time with family and just like get grounded again before I have to go back out and live on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what's the reality of what's actually happening this summer?
Well, I just had a job interview because I
Oh,
work at
good.
the yeah. So I work at the president's office at my school right now. But since we got hit with the global pandemic, I'm not able to go there right now, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was
What do you do
able
at the
to
president's
actually.
office?
So I'm
What do
like,
you do at the president's office, and how did you get that? That sounds like a fantastic job. So, two
so
questions
it's
in one.
actually yeah, it's actually kind of funny how that happened. So I moved in early because I did like another summer camp before I started my freshman year, and one of the RAs that I checked in with, he graduated from my high school, and he was like, "Hey Ashley," so I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And he goes, "I have a job position that's opening up, at the end of this semester, so like I'll hit you up." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So just from me knowing that one person who had his foot in the door, I was able to have my foot in the door and get that job as well. So, it's like people pointed out to me, like going into college, how important networking is. And now I see how important networking is. That's how I got my job on campus.
You're
And
hitting all the
go ahead,
points. All the points. I need
honestly.
to have you as a side, as a
Okay,
sideline
thank you.
ambassador. These are all the points. Networking is so
It's
important. And
so
as a freshman working in the president's office, I'm like, what?
I'm a little hard on myself, but like when I tell people what I do, they're like, calm down. I'm just like, I'm trying, like,
Exactly.
like tell me what I'm doing. But what I do in the president's office, I like answer phone calls. I'm a student worker, so like I basically assist the secretaries to like the president and like the man who's over media or whatever.
Right.
So if people have a phone call that come in and they can't answer it, I'm the one who answers it. I'll like direct calls. I'll do their running around. So I've become like really good in office work and
Hmm.
speaking to like representatives. So I like to just keep that in my bag for real life.
All important skills. A lot of students don't know how to answer a regular phone because we all have cell phones.
I didn't know
So
that.
we have student workers in our office, like front desk receptionists, and that's a part of training. Like, how do you answer the phone?
Hmm.
How do you
I'm
transfer
not
a
gonna lie.
call?
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little scared though, like when I was put on the spot to answer the phone because I was still in training, and I went
Right.
into work and I was like, I know it's coming, like I could just pick up when certain things are coming, and the lady who hired me was like, "Don't answer the phone today. Ashley's answering all the phones," and I was like, I knew it was coming. The office is quiet as it is, and then I pick up the phone. I'm just like, "Hello, Office of the President, it's Ashley speaking," and I'm just looking around seeing if anybody's judging me. I mean, you just have to get put into the fire. That's how you learn.
Exactly. Fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. So you're not able to work in the president's office, but you had an interview with what?
So, also another good thing with networking, my friend I graduated from high school with, she's a manager at a pizzeria right now, And she just texted me one day and was like, "Hey, do you need a job?" I was like, "Yeah, I could actually use a job now. That'd be nice since nobody's working." So I was
Right.
like, "Yeah, let me take a job." So she actually got me to fill out an application or whatever, and got me to speak with the owner of the business. And I just went in 2 days ago, I believe, right before I went to a protest, and went and interviewed for that. So he said he'll be contacting me either this week or next. So I mean, anything you can get during this time is important. So I'm like, I still need to, people still want bill money.
Right. Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. That
gotta
cell
go to the payment store.
phone stuff for next semester, the textbooks for next
Yeah,
semester.
like I still
So,
need to
so you just casually threw in right after the protest. You went to the interview. So, I asked you what you're doing this summer. So, talk about what's going on with the protest. What protests were you participating in?
So, um, this past Sunday, I believe it was, after I went to church, my friend texted me and was like, "Hey, I live in Bridgeton, so they're like, she goes, hey, they're protesting in Bridgeton, like for the Black Lives Matter movement." And I was like, "Well, that's right around the corner from me." So yeah, so I had to figure out everything on that Sunday. So I went to church, then I went to the interview. I'm glad it was only like 15 minutes, and then I was able to get ready to go with my friend to the protest. So we had a peaceful protest here in Bridgeton. I think it was the
Mm-hmm.
second one that they did,
Mm-hmm.
but I was just like really glad to be a part of it, and it was really great like seeing people from all different races come together and stand for the same thing. Because I was trying to tell my friends at the end of the day, like, don't even think of it as political. Like, this is a human rights issue.
Mm-hmm.
So it was so great seeing everybody come together, and then the people who actually organized it were like boys my age. So it wasn't even like big
Yeah,
individuals who put it together. It was kids my age, which was something that like inspired me as well.
I love
So
it.
yeah.
So, let's talk about your organization that you founded. Since we're talking about advocacy and changing the world, so could you tell us about the One Step Forward initiative? And let me put your link up.
Thank you. So, I actually got my footing with speaking to people because 2 years ago, or at least a year and a half ago, I would not be able to do this. I'd be like scared out my socks to be able to talk to you on live. So, my mom actually encouraged me to do a pageant 2 years ago, and it was a Miss America organization pageant. So, it was our local Miss Cumberland County. And when you compete for those pageants, you need to have a platform or a social impact initiative, something that you stand for. So like I said, I've always been really intrigued about mental health, and I've always seen how it affects like kids in my area, myself, grown ups, and you see like if you don't deal with it when you're younger, how it can carry with you into your adult life.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that like way too often. So I was like, what, mental health will be my initiative. That would be what I talk about. But then as time went on, I started like seeing how other women created their platform into like an organization, or it's just something that they were living every day. So I was like, you know what? Let me do the same thing. And I had to dig deep. And I remember when I was in middle school, like I was bullied really bad, and we had an out like a creative thing outlet, and we were able to competitively dance like against other grades. And then it just took me back to that moment where like when people were bullying me, when it came time to dance is when I just forgot everything, like all my worries, everything, my little 12-year-old self. 12-year-olds
Mm-hmm.
still have feelings, it just left me. So I realized, let me use that, because if dance helped me, which is a form of art therapy, then it'll help others. So I created the One Step Forward initiative, which is centered around combating mental illness and stigma through forms of art therapy. So I believe, it's not just dance that helps people. It can be poetry. It could be, stand up comedy. It could be just painting. But I believe that if you can find what art means to you, then it'll make you more comfortable, to speak about how you're feeling. So that's just something I'm passionate about. And I know it's helped me, it's helped my sister. And, even if you don't have a mental illness, everybody still has mental health, and you still have, emotional barriers that you may carry, especially like as you're growing up.
Yeah.
So,
And
and I,
how can people who are interested learn more about or join the initiative? I have the Facebook one on the bottom of the screen, so I'll do that one and the Instagram one if you want to talk more about how to connect with you.
yeah, of course. So this is my Instagram, One Step Forward, I. There I post like my updates on what I'm doing, where I'm able to promote my platform. I have my personal Instagram linked on my business Instagram. So if you want to reach out to me, my email is also on there as well. You can always contact me. I'm a friendly person. I like to talk to people. And just I put my updates on there. Last year, like we weren't hit with the global pandemic. I was able to host events. So I actually brought down my old dance teacher, who is a professional choreographer, to come and host like a dance therapy workshop and motivationally speak. I was able to, just go out to community boards and promote the importance of the issue, not even about me, just about mental health in general. So, if you want to join the part, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to my Instagram, you can go to my Facebook. I make all the posts. So, and my Instagram, my personal one is on there as well, too. So if you want to connect with me, I'm one click away.
One click away.
Yeah.
So I do have a few more questions for you. So
Mhm.
don't tune off yet. I still have some more
Oh.
questions about what's going to happen in the fall and all that wellness.
Mhm.
So has your school told you all like what is going on for the fall? Do you know if you're going to be face to face or online?
So we actually received, excuse me, I feel like I had the hiccup. Sorry.
It's okay. I told you to get some water.
So we actually got an email about 2 weeks ago, I believe, and it was from the president saying that they're working on offering still virtual learning, and they're also working on offering face-to-face learning. And I have hope that we'll be able to do face-to-face learning because the stay-at-home order was just lifted today. I saw on Twitter, and I'm also going to be an RA next year, so I want to go
Ooh.
RA. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So you lived on campus for a semester too, right?
Yes.
Okay, and now you get to hopefully live on campus and have tuition, and I assume that's how it works. Usually you get the tuition and board for free.
Yeah.
Okay, so good, saving money all around.
I need
Um,
to.
so you're registered for your classes for next semester already?
Yes.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Are you? How many classes are you taking next semester?
I believe I'm taking 5 again. Recently, I don't know what it is, but like every semester I just keep taking 5 classes, but I'm not gonna be mad at myself because I like to stay busy. If I can remember off the top of my head what classes I'm taking, I know I have to take statistics and psychology, so we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I have to take public speaking first thing in the morning, so that'll at least wake me up.
Hmm.
What else do I have to take? Oh, I'm taking like a couple psychology classes, but the one that like I'm most excited about is child and adolescent psychology.
Hmm.
So, I'm really excited about that. And let me think. I'm taking 2 other courses, but I just can't seem to remember them off the top of my head. I would
Right.
have to refresh myself on those two. But, in between me going to class, oh, that's what I'm taking. I'm also taking a dance class to fulfill my minor, a modern. And the last one I just can't remember off the top of my head right now. But in between my classes, I'm going to be going to work too, so I'll be filled out the whole day. But I get my Fridays off, so that's what I'm
Right.
excited about too.
And that's working in the president's office you're referring to, right?
Yes, and then RAing too.
Yeah. 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 A
Yeah,
full schedule.
but it's fine though. I like to stay busy.
But you're a sophomore now. You have the swing of
Yeah,
things, hopefully.
yeah.
So are you going to be so assuming all things work out, all of those courses, even the dance course can be done online, do you think? If you had to like if
Mhm,
the resurgence happens
mhm.
and we have to switch online, how are you feeling about what's how you're going to do and how you're going to fare next semester?
I believe we would, for referring to my dance class, I think we would still be able to dance because I know my friends who are dance minors, like their teacher is still instructed over the phone. So I see it can be
Hmm.
done. So I'll have, get in shape so I can dance next semester.
Okay.
And I feel like what would just stand out to the most to me, like difficulty wise, would be statistics and psychology. So, I might need to hit up the tutoring center for that one. But everything else I
Yeah.
think I'll be able to, get adjusted to. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. I'm telling students like no one knows it's going to happen,
Mm.
so you need to just be ready. Like even one of my students, she is majoring in business and art, digital art.
Oh,
So she changed her like based on her last semester's experience. She changed her schedule because there were a lot of group projects in her business course, and she said, I don't had experiences with group projects on college or in high school. It's not, depending on your
yeah.
9 times out of 10 students are never happy to work in group projects because,
Freshman.
one person usually does all the work. And it was like she was like a junior and the rest of the students were freshmen. No offense, freshmen. So,
There's a
so
little
she
bit
was
of
just like, I'm never doing that again. Yeah.
that's
So she
good.
changed her actual schedules to like, so she would not take any business classes. So That's another thing people can consider. Like, you don't know what's going to happen next semester. So if you can change your schedule, if you're concerned about a class that you're going to take, and you have the pandemic, you have online, it's just too much going on. So you might want to save one of those difficult classes to another semester.
Yeah, true.
So I have two more questions about the fall, and then one last question for you.
Okay.
So, about the fall semester, so you should have your grades back, and you have had time to reflect.
Hmm.
So, if you could give me one word, or you don't have to do one word, if you could sum up your last semester's experience in one word or many words, if you choose, what would it be?
I would say overall interesting. It was definitely, an interesting experience, having to adjust to being online and adjust my learning. And I know for my peers as well, like we're more so I like to be in a class and learn that way and just having to learn virtually. But at the end of the day, like when I got my grades back, I know that I was, pushing and doing my hardest what I can at home, and I'm actually proud of myself. After seeing the grades, you're like, oh, well, it wasn't that hard anyways. But when you're
Yeah,
in it, you're like, oh my gosh, like I want to get this over with. But
right.
I'm happy that I experienced it, and I'm happy that like I was still had faith in myself to push through and then get the results that I did. So at least it just shows me that I can do this, and I'm supposed to be here.
Right.
You know.
And so you said, when you were in it, you were like all stressed out about your grades. So are you going to remember that next semester? Because it's a cycle. It'll happen again. You'll be all stressed out. And will you
Honestly,
remember the fact that it all worked out okay? Or are you still going to stress out about it?
I'll still probably stress out about it every final season. Even when I was in, we call it PCI, the Pre College Institute, but that was the EOF program. We had a
Hmm.
final season too, but because the courses were so condensed into 4 weeks, because the program was 6 weeks, it was like 10 times as harder as what we would have for a drawn out, semester. But I remember when final seasons came for my first actual semester as a college student, I remember my previous final season, and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, it did feel like this. And then when it
Hmm.
came time for this final season, then it reminded me of last final season. I'm like, oh my goodness, like I don't remember this feeling until it's final season. So
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
stressed, and then at the end of it, I'm like, okay, it's over with. I survived.
Right. So, as a mental health advocate, like, what would you tell yourself during those times, or your friends who were also stressing out during that time? Because it'll happen. You still got 3 more years to go. How are
Yeah.
you dealing with your self care during those times that are stressful periods for college students?
Hmm. So, especially one thing with me is I've always been like an avid overthinker. Like my whole life, my mom said to tell me like, just calm down, stop worrying about everything. Like I've been like that my whole life. So what I remember telling myself and posting even on my one step pages, don't be mad at yourself for feeling the way that you feel. Like allow yourself, to feel that
Hmm.
stress. Allow yourself to feel like that upset and that worried, like just to get it out of the way because we did get our semester taken away from us and we are kind of in the midst of we don't know what's going on. So I just had to remind myself, it's okay not to always be perfect. Just let yourself feel what you're feeling and then you'll be able to work through it. And then on top of that, I took time aside, to dance in my room a little bit because that's how I expressed myself. I have a
Right.
little dance studio upstairs and I had to, put time aside to exercise because I realized when I'm constantly overthinking, whenever I exercise, it just allows that like certain aggression to just be released. I didn't
Hmm.
realize how
Hmm.
important that was to me, especially like as I'm not dancing every day like I did in high school. Like I still need that
Right.
release. And then I'm very much so an introvert. Like I'm an introvert extrovert, but like I'm an introvert for the most part.
Hmm.
But I
Hmm.
had to call my friends up. I had to go on group FaceTime and I had to go on group Zoom. I try to avoid those because I'm not like that type of person all the time. But I
Right.
needed that fill. And that also helped me a lot with my mental health. It just let me know like I still have friends. We're all in this together. Like I'm not seeing you every day and I'm not getting that like social interaction from like people in the student center. However, I know that you guys got my back during this and we can still talk it out.
That's you covered everything basically. But I still have one more question. But yeah, you covered. I was going to ask you some information about the social aspects of how do you deal with that as a
Mhm.
first a freshman student. You had made all these connections likely during your freshman year, and like all of a sudden they were taken away from you. So you basically covered that. But I do
Yeah.
have one other question before I let you go
Okay.
because we just talked about how hot it is in our respective rooms. So
It's okay. Hot.
Yes. So imagine your younger sister is starting off college in the fall. I think she still has a couple of years before she actually starts. But imagine she's starting off college in the fall. Based on your experience this past spring semester, we didn't know what was going to happen, but you do have the hindsight. What advice would you give a student who is starting off in the fall about how they can be successful during their first semester of college, dealing with all that's going on in the world right now?
Hmm. So one thing I would give it, like I always tell myself this all the time, is first and foremost, if you're starting college, like you find yourself on that campus, you're supposed to be there. So first and foremost, like believe in yourself, and I believe everything happens for a reason. So you're there for a reason. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And also, I would say, time management is key because, like I said earlier, you don't have your mom and dad there. They're not going to wake you up for class. You have to find that discipline within yourself and make connections in the classroom because some people can't learn on their own. You need
Mm-hmm.
to like have those peers to like help you. What you don't understand, somebody else will, and what someone else needs, you might know proficiently. So make those connections, believe in yourself, gain that discipline, time management, and something I would say is always eat on time because when you're going,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not hydrated and you're running on an empty stomach, like you're going to run out of fuel. It's just like a car.
Yeah.
So when you run out of fuel, that's when you find yourself more sad than what you normally are, more anxious than what you normally are. So, just take care of yourself and find what self care means to you because you are essentially living on your own, probably with someone in the same room that you've never met before. So you need to know yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any stories to tell about? That was a little quick thing about roommates. Any quick stories to tell about your roommate experience?
So what's funny about my experience is that because I signed up for the EOF program, I don't know, and because I'm a first generation college student, my mom didn't necessarily like know this stuff either. She might have remembered
Mm-hmm.
it when she had to go to college, but she
Right.
didn't she didn't graduate, but she went. But times are different now. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that I had to register for housing myself. So
Uh,
yeah, so when we went to orientation, everybody was getting their housing assignments. And I'm just like, okay, well, where's my housing assignment?
yeah.
And then they went, you need to register for housing. I was like, oh, really? Let me do that right now. So the day everybody got their housing assignments, I was just signing up for it.
Yeah.
And then I got my housing assignment, and I was in not a traditional, like the oldest dorms, but like a semi traditional dorm.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was another dorm that I was walking by, and I was like, "Oh no, no, no! I do not want to live in that building. I have health issues. I do not want to live in that building."
Right.
So, when I put my mind to something, I make sure it gets done. So I was calling the housing office. I'm like, "Can you please switch me?" But then it opened up where you can swap rooms. So I ended up swapping my room to be with somebody who was in my EOF program. But
Mm-hmm.
then as time went on, I was like, okay, pause. This dorm that I'm in right now is worse than the one that I just transferred out of. Like it's even older. And I have lupus, so my doctors are like really careful. Like they need to stay on top of me with like my autoimmune disorder.
Right.
So that happened, and I was like, okay, well, I would like to live in the newest dorm, and that had the like air conditioning. That suite was like a hotel. I was like, you know what? Let me try that one out. See if I can get in there. And then one day, one room just opened up for that building. So I didn't even know who the girl was that was assigned to it. I just said accept. But like awesome enough, like I was kind of nervous because I didn't know like who she was. Like I've never met her before. But as soon as I moved in, we hit it off right away. I'm a Christian, and her dad is a pastor. So actually, her dad's church was right around the corner from us, so we at least bonded with that. And she's like kind of my best friend now. So a lot of people have like bad roommate stories, but I lucked
Right.
out with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like one of my best friends. So
That is great.
yeah,
Yay.
I had a good first year.
Good, good, good. I'm so happy for you. So
Thank
I'm
you.
going to let you go because I am either having a hot flash or it's just really hot in here.
I gotta pass out.
Yes. But thank you so much for sharing your experience, for sharing your story, for, talking about your initiative. Let me put that up again for those of you who may have tuned in a little bit later. I think I checked. I didn't see any questions with anybody, but let me check another place. If you're interested in connecting with Ashley, if you have questions about her program, her organization, the One Step Forward Initiative. She is on Instagram. That is her Instagram link, and she is also on Facebook. the One Step Forward initiative. One Step Forward 2019. I think if you put that in a search, it'll come up.
It'll come up for sure.
Yes.
I
If
searched
you're
before and I was like, oh, first one's me.
Yes, good. If you're a student who's going to Rowan in the fall, check her out. If you're interested in majoring in psychology, check her out. So definitely thank you again so much. I'm going to plug a few of my things. Feel free to stay or feel free to leave. It's up to you. But I just wanted to share with those of you who are watching that I will be doing a free webinar on June 18th for those of you who are starting college, or for those of you who have been in college and want just a little bit of a leg up to prepare for whatever happens, come what may this fall, online or in person. I know some schools are starting early. My school's starting early on August 17th. Some schools are just going to go online. Some schools are going to go hybrid. I believe that's what you described, Ashley. Some schools are, going to go face to face and what happens. So no matter what happens this fall, you should just be prepared, because the first semester of your freshman year, as Ashley can attest to, you don't know what's going to happen, whether we have a global pandemic or not. There are going to be some things that are going to come up that you're going to have to overcome. So I'm going to give you some tips and advice for starting off your first semester in college or your next semester in college, and that will be titled Countdown to College COVID-19 Ready Edition. So that's a webinar on June 18th at 6 p.m. And also we have some additional people coming on this week. We have Tandy Carway, who is going to be talking about, for those of you who, like Ashley's sister, are still in high school, you're looking to see what college you're going to go to in the fall. She'll be talking about college admission and going to college debt free, which is something that we all want to do. So Tandy Carway tomorrow at 5:30, I'll be talking to her. And then we have another student on Thursday. Imani Lewis, I was about to call her Ashley, Imani Lewis, who is a women's basketball player at the University of Wisconsin. She'll be talking about the student athlete experience and what that was like for her last semester and how she's planning to go into the fall semester. I have no idea if fall sports are actually going to happen. I'm sure no one does. So for those of you who are interested in sports, definitely tune in. So thank you again, Ashley. I'll put all of the links that we talked about in the chat if you didn't get a chance to write them down. If you catch the replay, definitely connect with us. Definitely say hashtag replay, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Have a great next semester if we don't talk, but I'll definitely connect with you online.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.